Alright guys, the super EZA for the 1000-day login Goku is finally on global after months and months of waiting. And a few of you are probably wondering, where's the alternate art? Now you can only get the alternate art if you have logged into Dokkan for at least 4,000 days, which I'm just over 3k, so unfortunately I don't have yet, and that is the only way you can obtain it. And if you're also wondering how do you super EZA this guy, you need to have logged in for 2,000 days, which I've also managed to do, but not quite enough for the alternate art. He is indeed rainbowed. We have a little bit of a kind of spread going on. I want to see how he does at the bare minimum, so no skill orbs. But what I would say is he really doesn't need crit. Most of this potential system was done about a year or so ago. So I'd probably prioritize additional or dodge if you are still building yours or soon going to be getting your super EZA medals for the Goku. However, he is at level 10 links. He's on the best possible team I could put him on. And even though I think this is one of the dumbest things Dokkan has ever done in terms of us being synced, and when global actually gets this, we're still going to try him out because he's a brand new unit in the game, and why not? He's also free to play, even though it may take you, especially if you're more of a recent player, you may not see this guy for years, which is another reason why I think it's stupid, because he's literally just going to be a novelty for you in the box, which is great if you enjoy that side of Dokkan. But getting any use out of him, if you literally started playing during the 10th anniversary or even a year before, he's just kind of there for you, unfortunately. So, we do have a few links active and experienced fighters, preferred battle, and legendary power. Pretty sure we lose some if we just put him in slot 1 here like that. We do. Now, he is starting with key plus 7 and 177% attack and defense. He does also receive an additional key plus 1 per key sphere obtained. And then for every key sphere obtained, he does gain 77% attack and defense, chance to crit of 17% up to guaranteed 100%, and then a chance to evade of 17% up to 77%, and also recovers 7,777% HP. And considering we can get a few orbs, we're looking at 9 here right now. So that's 9 times 77. I'm not going to do the quick maths. We're going to have guaranteed crit as well. And we're going to pretty much have the full 77% chance to dodge as well. So after picking up some orbs, he's sitting on a 2.78 million attack stat, 700,000 in terms of defense. I can't get this Goku and Vegeta 18 key, which is a little bit annoying. However, I can get this Goku 18 key, but no 24. And then attacking with 24 key, which of course we do have. There is the dodge. Do it again. Do it again. He will gain an extra 77% attack and defense. 34.3 mil isn't too bad. Again, don't forget this guy is free to play. Like, you literally only have to just log into the game. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to play any events, any stages. You don't have to put time and effort into the game. Literally just log into the game, and that is progress in getting this Goku. So I'll take that for some damage and only picking up 9 orbs. He also has a 50% chance to launch an additional super attack with that 24 key, which of course we did get there. Then, when there's another super class ally attacking in the same turn, or when there's an extreme class enemy, which is, to be fair, not bad conditions, to be fair, considering the teams you're going to be running him on are going to be primarily, if not fully, super class category units all over the team, so you're always going to have this guaranteed. He will randomly change key spheres of a certain type to strength orbs, which of course is really handy considering he is an orb hungry unit, getting the 77% attack and defense for every key sphere obtained, getting all that extra 17% crit chance up to 100% per orb obtained, and the dodge chance of 17% up to 77% per orb obtained, and the 7,777 healing that he also gets as well. So in terms of him being his own orb changer, very, very handy indeed. Now, who am I going to pop? Actually, that's not even a question. Who am I going to pop in slot 1? UI Goku, of course. I'm being very, very silly. Of course, I'm going to put UI Goku in slot 1. Can we save as many of those as possible? It does look like we can, which is good. I want to save as many of those for the super EZA 1000-day Goku as I can. Then, and this is where the whole login kind of parts of his passive come into, the kind of, I don't even know the word I'm looking for. It's completely gone out of my head. But for 1,000 turns from the character's entry, which of course you're never going to get anywhere close to, so I have this permanently no matter what fight you do, unless somehow you manage to make Festival of Battles even slower, he will gain an additional 1000 defense per key sphere obtained, hence why we jumped all the way up to not only for the attack and defense per orb obtained, but 1000 defense up to 700k. Then for 2000 turns from the character's entry, which of course you have, I mean, you already had no chance of reaching 1000, let alone 2000. You do gain 2000 extra attack per key sphere obtained. Now, what I will say is, this isn't a percentage. This isn't like going to be a giant jump. That's where the 77% attack and defense per orb obtained really kicks in. But having an extra flat out 1000 and then 2000 on the attack per orb obtained, every little helps. You know, it all adds up together at the end of the day. But the flat numbers is only going to do so much in comparison to like the percentage when picking up orbs. And then, and of course this is in relation to the alternate art, for 4000 turns from the character's entry, an additional 4000 attack and defense per key sphere obtained. So of course, 1000 day login Goku is getting a lot in terms of picking up orbs. A very orb hungry unit if you were to actually seriously use him. You know, he's getting the attack and defense for every orb obtained, crit chance, dodge, healing if you need it, or just it being there. Then you're getting defense and extra attack and attack and defense as a flat out boost per key sphere obtained as well. So I said a very, very orb hungry unit. But what I will say, not a bad kit. Again, this is a free-to-play unit that you actually don't really have to put any time and effort for, if you really think about it. If you actually sat there for 1000 days to just get the unit and just logged into the game and immediately turned it off, you could get the 1000 day login Goku by doing that. You do that for another 1000 days, you can then super EZA him. And then, of course, if you go for the extra 4000, you can then get the alternate art, which I do think the alternate art looks pretty nice. But 4000 days is a long time. But literally, for no time and effort apart from opening the game and closing the game, you can actually get a pretty solid free-to-play LR. Now, even though I will admit, as I said, I kind of think this is one of the dumbest things Dokkan has done in terms of process. Not the unit itself. I'm fine with that. Because again, it literally takes no effort to get him. In terms of the way they set up waiting to get the Super EZA, then the alternate art, and then Global not even getting it at the same time as JP, which I think is one of the dumbest things ever, considering we're meant to be synced, by the way. Remember that. He's actually a solid unit. You could actually get some solid use out of him if you wanted to. But this is where the stupidity comes in, which I don't get. And I said this when this first dropped ages ago on JP. By the time a lot of you get him, if you started playing within the last year, the 9th anniversary, the 10th, whether you started playing even 3 years ago, you're not really going to get much use out of this guy by the time you get him, especially if you're a brand new player recently. Absolutely zero chance, because by the time you actually get a hold of him, this guy's going to be completely irrelevant. And again, the novelty side of things, great. You've got a Super EZA LR Spirit Bomb Goku for logging in for 1000 days. You Super EZA'd him for logging in for 2000. You can say you did that, and it's a pretty sick thing to have in your box as a novi. As an actual usable unit, as I said, he's actually quite solid for a free-to-play LR. But by the time you get a hold of him, if you're more of a recent player, you won't have any use out of him because he'll be long gone by then. So we're actually getting less orbs this time. We're getting 8 instead of the 9 we got before. To be fair, we're still doing a 3 million on attack before we've even super attacked. Now, in terms of his attack super effect, I don't know why I said it like that. In terms of his SA effect, of course, unchanged because he is a Super EZA. There is the dodge. Don't forget, also has guard as well. Don't forget, he also has guard when you have another super class ally attacking in the same turn or an extreme class enemy. So we'll be able to somewhat contend with normals. On 18 key, no self buff directly does raise all allies attack and defense by 30% for 1 turn. So also a pretty nice support for everyone on the team as well when you think about some of the units that can actually benefit from him. Especially if you do take the risk and pop him in Assault 1. You know, you've got both the Year 8 EZAs. You've got SJ4 Diamond Goku if he was on the rotation. Same as SJ4 Vegeta and Goku if they were on rotation, etc, etc. And then you also on 12 key get raise all allies attack and defense by 20% for 2 turns. So that means everyone on this rotation, no matter who it was, would be getting a full 50% attack and defense because of 1000 day login Spirit Bomb Goku. Which is actually pretty sick. It's a pretty decent amount of support. If he had some support to combine with that in his passive as well, it'd be pretty sick. But regardless, if you take the risk and put him in slot 1, the types of units that are actually benefiting from the SA effect support is really, really nice. Especially because the 12 key does last for 2 turns. So that means right now, even though both the 8 EZAs are the only units to benefit from the 18 key one, the 20% that you get on the 12 key that lasts for 2 turns, EZA Straight 4 Daima Goku, EZA Straight 4 Goku and Vegeta, and also UI Goku are all going to benefit from that 20% attack and defense on his 12 key support as well. Which I do think is pretty sick, to be fair. And also, it doesn't say self-excluded, which does mean that this Goku is also getting the 30% attack and defense on 18, the 20% attack and defense on 12. He is also getting that as well because his SA effects do not say self-excluded, which is also not too bad. It's not the biggest SA buffs, however, it's still solid nonetheless. But overall, again, for a free-to-play LR that takes you no effort at all, apart from literally just logging into the game, I have to say he's doing pretty well. He's actually a pretty solid unit. He's putting out some okay damage. I mean, numbers-wise, kind of flat out. However, what I will say is, you know, you're looking at like over 20 million actual raw damage done to enemies because you're getting 17% crit chance per orb picked up, and you can build him up to guaranteed crit, which is why I do say when building him, you really want to prioritize additional and dodge. He doesn't need crit in the slightest because you don't need too many orbs to get the 100% crit. Which means he's actually doing some pretty actual solid raw damage. So if he's doing anywhere to 30 to 40 mil and then an additional for just over 20, again, solid damage for a free player. Actually, more than solid. It's actually pretty good. Defensively, defense isn't the highest, but again, for a free player, it's actually not too bad. It's actually quite good. And then, are these orbs going to drop the way I want them to? They are. They are. Okay. I actually didn't want to do that. I didn't mean to. We're probably going to die. We're probably going to die. I actually didn't mean to let go of that. And actually, never mind. We're definitely going to die now because UI Goku's been a fraud for me recently. But then critting on each super attack he does, guaranteed majority of the time, I said it's pretty good damage. And defensively, he has a solid amount of defense. You know, we've picked up 9 orbs, 8 orbs, and he has like anywhere from 600 to 700k defense, along with 77% chance to dodge. And then also the guard he has as well for having a superclass ally attacking in the same turn. Wow, didn't dodge again. That is crazy. Fraud watch alert. And of course, another thing that is really good about him, which currently Carnival LR UI Goku is on fraud watch for, is the fact that he does have that 77% chance to dodge that you can build up for every key sphere obtained, which so far he's been doing really well with. The one major asterisk that I'll put against him as an orb-hungry unit is, even though he's an orb changer, if you somehow get unlucky, and let's just say, instead of having the straight, clear path of strength orbs, maybe this middle point after that first rainbow orb was cut off, you could then probably hardly get him any key spheres that he needs, which means you hardly build up any of his attack and defense, you hardly build up any of his crit, his dodge, get any of the HP recovery, get any of the additional stats, and it really doesn't do too much for him. But of course, that is all RNG. You'd have to get quite unlucky for that. But that is a small thing to think of. But I think overall, as I said, he's doing some pretty solid damage. For the pure shits and giggles, I'm going to use this Tree of My Fruit item, and we're going to juice him up a little bit. It would have been nice if I got loads of orbs, but at the moment, I just keep getting between 8 and 9. And that is just kind of all Dokkan's going to give me. I mean, I could have brought, like, actual orb changing items, but I can only bring 1, so that's not really going to do too much. So dodge for me, please. There we go. Juice them up a little bit. 85.5 million. And also, that's guaranteed crit as well. So that's another thing as well. Now that we've got this ridiculously stupid Tree of My Item in Dokkan, you can also juice him up to some pretty crazy lengths that some Dokkan Fest LRs hit and kind of have some fun with him, which I want to start using this item on a lot of units in the game because I reckon we can get even like SSJ 4 Daima Goku to some crazy lengths on an EX super attack. Like I said, there's an actual usable unit for a free-to-play LR. I said that takes no effort whatsoever apart from just jumping on the game. He's actually pretty good in terms of how you actually get him. Again, great, no effort, hardly any effort whatsoever. Great job, Dokkan. In terms of how they actually set up getting his super EZA medals versus how usable he'll be depending on when you started, which as a more recent player, not for a few years, meh, you kind of dropped the ball on that one. I'm not gonna lie to you. But as a novelty to say, hey, look, I've been playing Dokkan for this many days, and sometimes it's kind of crazy that I've been playing Dokkan for as many years as I have. you could be like, yeah, that's my badge of honor for that, which is a nice novelty to have. But I just think the way Dokkan set this up, like, I get it, you know, in terms of the way they did it, it makes sense, but it is a little bit stupid. But in terms of an actual usable free-to-play LR, I have to say he's actually pretty good. It's just a shame some of you won't actually really get to use him when it mattered. I mean, at least you can still use him in like Super Battle Road and ESBR potentially by that point, but that's probably as far as it goes. But a pretty solid unit nonetheless. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments of the 1000-day login Goku Super EZA. Do you have him? How close are you to getting him? Let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there as well, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great day, and peace.